but if you want to go with them as the next two guys, I'll concede this one. I think it's my turn to concede a spot. So we can go Spence at 15 and Bear at 16. Does that sound okay to you?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so Spence there and Bear. Now, I will put up here. I'd like to see. I'd probably take Keyshawn Aitchison.
Okay.
Or Carbonneau or Lakovic.
So I actually had Carbonneau here ahead of Aitchison. And I know I've been hard on Carbonneau, but I've watched him a bit more again recently. His effort's there. Like, I really do like his effort, and the physical skill set is there. Again, the big winger who could skate and shoot the puck, that ability's there. That's very enticing. I've worried about his hockey sense. Now that I watch him play like a bit more, I think he's just like having 3 or 4 Red Bulls before he plays, man. Like, he's just all over the map all the time. Like, he just wants to do stuff all the time. He's not very patient. I think that's the issue he kind of has, is that he's just trying to create stuff all the time, that there isn't a lot of patience in his game yet.
Now, do you feel that is a guy who is just so excited and so determined to want to make a difference? Or do you think that that's a lack of hockey sense? Because there's two ways to look at it.
That's the question you'd have to have. I think it might be a little bit of both, but so Aitchison, again, I like Aitchison. The issue I do have with him, love how physical he is. Great physical defenseman. He's a little small and he's left-handed. So again, I'm not saying that I don't think he'll play. It's just
the same size as Carbonneau.
I think he's a little smaller than him, man. Like, I think he's like 6 foot.
They're both
he looks smaller when he plays. Like, he skates low.
5 centimeters here where I'm looking. But
yeah. He looks smaller when he plays. I think that's just, as a defenseman, it just maybe looks that way. And again, we've talked about this before. Like, when has a guy that size been like, a pure, shutdown defenseman, right? Like, are we sure? Yeah. So, whereas again, I think Carbonneau, if he hits, is a top 6 forward. But there's the possibility he just doesn't play.
Okay, well, do you see there's a possibility that Aitchison doesn't play?
No, but do I see, again, a top pair? No, I don't see a top pair. Could we see a middle pair? That's probably the height of it, right? Like, that would be.
Like, I'm not at the point at the list where I'm willing to take a guy who I'm not sure is going to play.
Okay, that's fine.
So I never really had that concern. I think Carbonneau's going to play just fine. I just don't know if he's going to be. He has the skill to be a first line or second line player. I don't know if he doesn't settle into a more.
I do wonder if he gets coached and told what to do, that if he gets that into his brain, like, he'll just do that. Like, if
he's also a guy who is probably his entire life been by far the most talented player on the ice.
Yeah, he's extremely talented. I mean, the amount of times we've watched him and he just absolutely undresses a guy, like, is fabulous. But then he follows it up by trying to undress another guy and loses the puck. It happens constantly.
Yes. It's a one too many moves story for sure. But like, if we're worried, like, if you're thinking that something like that might keep him out of the league entirely, why are we not talking? And I don't have him this high yet, but why are we not talking about a guy like Brady Martin? This guy's going to play in the league.
No, I know. And again, I think with Carbonneau, though, I think I see the effort where I think maybe I've come around that he can maybe play on more of a lower line. I'm just, again, I think it's more of a possibility than Aitchison here. Like, Aitchison will play. It's just, where do you think? Like, I don't think you're getting. Again, we're getting late in the first round. I don't think you're not getting a top. You're not getting a top pairing guy, right? Like, this is
okay. If we're like Carbonneau, and I'm going to throw Lakovic in this discussion too, and Aitchison and Martin, because we're the 4 guys left of the greens that we haven't done. We got a debate here, upside versus safety, because if you want to have like Aitchison and Martin, I bet you play more games in the league combined than Carbonell and Lakovic do. But I bet you that the best offensive player of the four of them is one of Carbonell and Lakovic.
Possibly, yeah. I do like
But
Carbonell's effort a lot more than
Martin,
Lakovic, though.
I think Aitchison and Martin could. I think they're both pretty good bets to play a really long time in the league. It's like 600 games or more.
I mean, again, I'm not far off with you on Aitchison here. Like, we can put Aitchison here. Like, that's, I don't think this is an unrealistic spot.
Dude, I'm just looking at my own thing. Like, I have them right in a row. I actually have Carbonell, Aitchison, Lakovic.
Yeah.
So we could do that.
You want to do, so what are we doing 17 here?
Carbonell?
Yeah.
Carbonell at 17. And then do you have Aitchison and Lakovic as the next two?
I do.
What order?
No, I don't actually. I have Aitchison 18. And 19, I actually have Jacob Wozniak over Lakovic.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very interesting.
And the thought process with that is that when we were talking about Wozniak early in the year and listening to what scouts said, scouts were very worried about his effort level and his consistency.
Okay, so we're good with Aitchison at 18?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
So we were worried, a lot of people were worried about Wozniak's, consistency and, want, basically. Having watched both Lakovic and Wozniak play, again, these are both these are big guys. Like, these are big wingers who project to be kind of power forward or could be power forward types per se. I watched Wozniak play. I see more effort. I see more effort to be physical. I see better playmaking, and he's far more engaged with the game. Now, again, I've watched him enough times now where this seems to be somewhat consistent now. So my worries on him, maybe, some of the things we heard early in the year have kind of waned. Whereas I watched Lakovic, and the last few times I watched him, it's not great. His effort level really wanes. Like, he's not really attentive defensively. I get they're not a good team. But I mean, he's, dropping assignments on the ice, and he's not skating hard at times, and it's resulting in goals against. And he's also not producing that much. Whereas Wozniak's really producing, both, in Swedish junior league, and he's producing, at the international level with Sweden under 18. So I've moved him ahead because, again, I think there's a better projection here of a power forward. Lakovic doesn't hit guys.
Dude, Wozniak, I've never seen him throw a body check all year.
Yeah, Wozniak hits guys. Like, I'm not sure
Lakovic has a lot more individual puck skill.
He doesn't use it. You gotta use it. Wozniak shoots the puck. Wozniak could shoot the puck, and he can dish the puck. He actually has an ability to play offense like very well in very diverse ways. He can play off the rush. He can play in the zone, and he's, again, physical. So, I mean, again, we're at the point here where it's these two guys are kind of like, wow, look at their bodies, like, and their skill sets. The toolkit's really good.
Yeah,
it's which one do we, project? Maybe it's a little easier to maybe project making the league. I actually think Wozniak's the better guy here.
Yeah, I think Lakovic's going to play Wozniak has not had a strong quality of competition. Lakovic's doing it in the dub, and that gives me a little more safety. Although I do actually like Wozniak, I think, a little bit better.
The habits are killing me with Lakovic, man.
Well, they're not stellar with Wozniak either, dude.
They're not. Listen, I'm not saying they're the highest of high end in this draft. I've seen better habits from him than I have from Lakovic.
Yeah, me too. But I just don't know. We're bucking the consensus there, but Lakovic can be frustrating to watch, and his production has dripped off a little bit since they made that trade, and he's kind of having to do it a little more on his own. But I do feel like both players need someone to to play with and get them the puck. I don't think either one of these guys is going to be. Now, I did see. You're right. I like that game against USA. Wozniak was very strong along the boards. I think he's figuring. I think the criticism. I think he heard the criticism earlier in the year.
Well, it's just again so you talk about this. He's played Sweden, the U.S. the other day. Like, he looked good in that game. He's looked good on his junior team for a while now. I mean, he's been physical in those games. He's hitting guys. And again, I actually disagree that he needs a guy to create offense. He can create offense himself, but he can also just be a shooter. Like, he has it. I think there's a diverse skill set in his offensive game. Like, there is a high quality guy here. And if he's actually figured it out, like, then he is a top 20 pick.
So do you want to do Wozniak 19 and Lakovic 20?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. Well, actually, you want to have a discussion right now? We could still discuss. There's one more guy here.
Martin?
No, you're going to think I'm nuts.
Who?
Zurovsky.
Yeah, I think you're fucking nuts, dude.
I just want to mention him because, again, he is the complete shot in the dark here.
I'm ready to talk about him in a few more guys, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, okay.
I'm taking like the guys that I at least know are going to play in the league, and then I've got all the time in the world. He'd be my very first home run swing. But
okay, well, I guess my theory on this is like Lakovic and Wozniak are kind of the high upside plays here. Zurovsky would also be that, a lot further downside maybe, but that would be the thought process.
Yeah,
there.
dude, the downside is he hunkers down in Siberia for the next 15 fucking years and never sees North American ice.
Okay, I'm going to counter you here. There's just not a lot of first line upside after these two guys.
I agree, but it's in the first round, and like, if we're taking the mentality that we're pretending to be our own little NHL team here and our scouting jobs are on the line, you can't take a 20th overall, a guy that you don't know is going to come over. And I'm not saying
it would be 21st. It would be 21st, not 20th, but
you know what I'm saying, dude.
All right.
Like,
so can I propose a guy here then? I'll propose one for you.
I already know who it is and I'm down.
Payton Kettles?
Yes, dude.
Okay.
Payton Kettles.
Would you like to talk about him?
I'd love to talk about him. And I actually got shout out to the Kettles family, actually, who I got a chance to chat with on Twitter a little bit after our last episode where we featured them. They were kind enough to repost the episode for us, and I messaged them and say, hey, are you part of the family? So yeah. So just want to give them a little shout out because I know that they are watching. And Payton, we think you're a first round pick. We're both pretty solid on this assessment. I mean, we're talking about a very big kid. He's got a lot of the same traits, man. I think that Murtka has. He's got a lot of the same traits that Murtka has. I don't know if the skating is quite at the same level, but I actually think he's a bit of a meaner prick than Murtka is. I've seen like Kettles runs guys through the boards, roughs them up in front of the net. Like, he's a bit of a throwback, I think, in the way he plays. But he also has that new age skill where he's got very good mobility. He's actually got a very good puck game. Maybe not the fanciest or most creative, but I mean, he moves the puck just fine. And I think he's got a pretty good idea of what's going to make him successful at the NHL. And at his size and mobility, and he's a righty and he's mean. And I think at absolute worst, this is a third pair everyday NHL player that's going to be a complete fucking prick to play against, shift in, shift out at this point in the draft. And I do think there's more upside there than just a third pairing guy. Guys like this, there needs to be a guy that can stabilize your first or second pair as well. And I think he's got the mobility to go with it. So, but I think we're looking at a guy who's definitely going to play in the league and probably be extremely effective, at least in the defensive zone and on the PK. And again, he's not fun to play against. And if you're going to be a guy who maybe projects a little bit lower in the lineup, like, I don't want other teams to like look forward to playing you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the bottom of your lineup, I think, my opinion, in a winning team, goes out and grinds the piss out of you and makes it brutal to play against, which I've seen this guy do. He's brutal to play against, even at the junior level. So there's a lot of things to like here. So for me, Payton Kettles, despite being widely ranked as a mid-second rounder right now, I actually think he belongs in the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the big right shot defenseman. He's pretty solid skater. Puck isn't a grenade. Hammers guys. Like I really like this player. I think this is very easy to see he can be an insulator for some team. Especially you're picking right now like 21, 22. You're probably a playoff team. I mean, you're probably wanting a player like this. I feel like this is to me, I don't see how anyone from 21 to 32 would be passing on a very big right-hand shot defenseman who's physical and looks like he projects to be a player. I don't see that's happening.
Like the other thing too with a guy like this, I'm like, okay, what's his trade value? If he's like, say he's 26 or whatever, 32, whatever, on a UFA deal, even as a rental for 1 year, a guy like this is going to get a first plus, right?
Yeah.
So, So
there's good value. There's value in these players, the right shot defensemen who are big and can skate. There's a lot of value in them.
There's a ton of value in them because there's not many around, and we're seeing them. We're seeing teams try to find them earlier and earlier in the draft.
Yeah. So now we might have him a little high, but I think he does deserve to be a first rounder. And frankly, for the guys behind him, I think he projects. There's a high upside here. Like he can play with he could probably be an insulator with a top pairing guy. I think that is a possibility.
Why do we have him a little high?
No, I think we have him higher than people have been projecting him. Like we're definitely a little ahead of the curve here, and I think it's valid. So
I think so too. I think by the end of it here, barring something unforeseen, I think we're looking at a first round pick here with this guy, and I don't have many qualms about saying that one out loud either. I'm fine with him at 21. If you'd like to continue on, there are a couple different ways. We're getting to the point here where I'd say every pick we make from here on out could have 10 guys or 5 guys on either side of them where you could really make the case. It's really hard not to take Brady Martin here at this point, dude. Looking at everyone else that I'm looking at has a fatal flaw that might keep them out of the league, and Martin's the only guy left that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he's a safe pick. I don't think you're getting. Again, we're at the point now where we're looking at contending teams here. You're looking at a guy who can step into a lineup, be an effective player,
and
on a cheap contract, and he'll probably play and be pretty effective.
And most years, this kind of player is going to go between 26 and 40.
Yeah.
But I think in a year, and we'll get to the guys, but safety does go into it, and there's nothing about Martin that's going to hold him out of the league. Whereas any name on the list, I can say at least one thing that may hold him out of the league.
Yeah.
Entirely. Right? Whereas with Martin, are we looking at a guy who's going to be a 75-point player? No, we probably don't. But are we looking at a guy who is going to go out there and play against the other team's best players and probably be depended on by the coach? And in critical situations, he's going to come over the boards and he's going to play a regular shift at even strength, and he'll play on your PK and maybe your second power play. He might not sell.
It's a guy that's going to have a long career, right? Like it's a guy who's going to play. He's going to have.
Might not be the guy who asses in seats with the highlight reels, but I think he might be a guy that really helps you put points up on the standings, and that's a very valuable. Much in the sense of Zonin, where even if he does settle into a third line or bottom six role, he's going to crush it at that role. I see that with Martin as well, where there's nothing that's going to prevent him from being successful at whatever role he happens to settle into.
Yeah. Again, the difference between Martin and say Zonin, I see more offensive upside, obviously, with Zonin. That's why I took him higher. But Martin is going to play. I think there's a pretty high floor here. What this guy is, there just isn't really as much of a ceiling with some of the guys ahead of him, right? This is a guy, he'll play effectively. Team will be happy with him.
Yeah, I agree. So, and that that clears out all the guys that we had as, no doubt first rounders, considered by the consensus and us as first round guys. And there was 19 of them, and sprinkled into those 19, the picks that we went quote unquote off the board. Zonin at 14, Wozniak at 19, and Kettles at 21. All three of those guys widely regarded as second rounders right now, and we'll see at the end of June how this little exercise pans out for us. Yeah. Boys, who would you like to see? Who would you like to see next?
Well, we kind of have a grouping of guys, I think, here coming up. So
I think we just capped off a tier here with Brady Martin.
I think
No,
that
really.
it probably is the tier. It looks like what are we at, 22? Looks like that's probably about correct. That'll probably be the tier. There maybe some, that'll result in some maybe trades in the draft, on the draft floor, perhaps. So again, I'll propose a guy here. I mean, Henry Brustevich is a guy I've really liked. I'm going to propose a couple other guys here too. So we have Braden Coots, Eddie Genberg, and Milton Gastrin. So I don't know if any of these guys kind of float your boat here. Is there any others you'd like to kind of maybe review here?
You say Coots, Gastrin, and who?
Eddie Genberg.
Yeah, so there's two guys that I like better than all three of those.
Okay, go ahead.
Although so Coots, of those three, to me, Coots is the highest. I think he's got a lot more upside than a guy like Genberg.
Yes.
I like Ben Kindel, despite his size. I think he's one of the smartest players in the draft. And he's the one, not the one, but one of the smaller guys that I'm not planning to bet against. And the other guy is Ivan Ryabkin, who's come over and played really well, I think, for Muskegon of the USHL, and he's finding his stride. And I don't think there's a lot that might keep him out of the league. So a guy like, he's going to play, and at this point where we're at, that has the fact that he's going to play has a lot of value. Same thing with Coots, which is why I like him ahead of Genborg and Brustevich, because I don't have any doubts that he's going to play in the league at least. Not that I do with the other guys, but we'll get there. But Ryabkin, Kindel, and Coots are my next three. And then I kind of have my own personal little tier after those three. But
so the other guy I mentioned here is Rashne too. He's also kind of, I compared him to Kindel, so I think that would be the other guy here. So I feel like that sounds like you and I at least agree that Coots should be in this range here. So maybe he's the next guy here.
Now, all three of those guys, like, we're at pick 23. The six of them mentioned: Ryabkin, Kindel, Coots, Genberg, Brustevich, Rashne. I've got them all in my top first round, or my top 32, I guess, 34. But they're all in this next cohort for me as well. And this is the point where it's going to get trickier and trickier for us to find consensus. So there may be some situations where we're editing this list as we know, but really, like, we're doing this on the fly. So yeah, Coots, Kindel, Ryabkin. What are your thoughts on Ryabkin? Because I think he's a very safe bet to at least play, and I do think that the upside that we heard about earlier in the year is starting to show.
I mean, I worry a bit about his size. I mean, but again, there's guys in this realm that I also worry about that way. Really didn't like his body language in Russia. I think that was what really bothered me. He didn't, I have concerns about, that type of stuff. Just, he wasn't really engaged with the game for maybe the first 4 months of the year. Yep. Now he's in a situation where he can be. We'll have to review him more. I mean, he was supposed to be a top 10 pick before the season. Now, when we did watch him, I thought his playmaking was pretty good. I thought he had, a lot. His one-touch passing I really liked, if I remember correctly. That was something I really, really liked out of him. So there is ability here. Now the problem is, again, you've talked about this before. He's Russian, so he could go back. He could just take his ball and go home. That's something you would have to worry about in this area with him as well. So do you like? Are you okay with that risk at this point, or is this? Would you rather?
It's a name that's worth discussing at this point, and I think there's actually probably, oh god, there's probably two other defensemen. Honestly, like if we're just like, okay, Boumediene and Wang, I think are both first rounders. Boumediene is extremely safe. He's very good size, very good skater. He simplified his game a lot. He looks like he's adjusted to the NCAA. I was a lot more impressed with him watching him recently. At the beginning of the year, I really didn't care for him. But I talked to some scouts and said, well, look, dude, like he just came over. Like he just came over to North America. He's playing against college players who are older. Like give him a couple months and then check in. I said, okay, fine. So I watched the last couple games and he's actually good. And again, I don't necessarily see something that's going to prevent him from playing some years in the league. So he doesn't have to be the next guy on the list, but I think he is going to, I think at this point, he belongs in the top 32. Although I will say we're getting to the point of the draft where I'm getting short on guys who I feel are first rounders in any other year, sort of thing. Like I don't think a lot of the guys coming up, you'd be more excited getting them in the second. And that's not it to trip them, because there's going to be some really good players from this crop. But you've heard the refrain before, it's not the deepest of draft classes. And first round picks, like teams are going to, there's a big difference in who a team would pick at 28 and 34, even if the same two players were the debate. Because at 28, if there's a guy that's really high upside, or versus a guy that's really safe, they're probably going to take a guy that's going to play, because you need to make your first round picks count in the NHL and in any sport, but in the NHL especially, because we're really the only cohort of guys that are more or less guaranteed to get some time in the league. And second rounder, the mentality almost switches where it's like, okay, because if we blow this pick, we're not getting fired. So let's try and go find the best guy that we can, right? Which is why the Hudson brothers, who both had undeniable first round talent, but were small, undersized defensemen who might not play in the league at all. That's why they went in the second round. It wasn't a question of their skill or their upside ever. So those are the kind of things that I try to remind myself and have those debates with myself. Like a guy like Boumediene, maybe a very unexciting pick compared to, let's use Ryabkin since we went there. But there could be some things about Ryabkin that might keep him out of the league, whereas Boumediene, I don't see that. So it's hard. We're at the point where safety, for me, at this point, becomes pretty important for the next 8 or 10 picks until we get out of the first round. And after that point, I would side almost entirely with upside. My personal philosophy completely changes after we get out of the first round.
Okay, so from what it sounds like here, like I think if we're talking about a safe pick that we both like here, I think Coots is the guy here then.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I like Kindel's upside more than Coots, but I do have them back to back, and Coots is bigger, probably a little tougher to play against. So I'm fine putting Braden Coots here down at, what are we at, 23?
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So if we're talking now with the next pick, I'm going to state what you talked about, Boumediene. I think him and Brustevich are very similar prospects. I think Brustevich is a better skater than him. I think there's more offensive upside, and he shoots right-handed. And I think so. To me,
my counterpoint to that is Boumediene's a little more physically developed, and he's a little bit better defensively. And I think my only thing with Brustevich, I don't see him as a third pair defenseman. Whereas Boumediene, I could see it.
Well, I think Brustevich is he's pretty physical though, man. Like I watch again, it's a guy I watch a lot. He's pretty physical. And he's going up against guys like, again, the last game I watched, he was playing Windsor. And like Windsor's a big team. Like they're big on forward, and he's in the corners battling with all these guys, and he's winning majority of those battles. So like he's proving to me that he can play bigger guys and beat. He's not going to get physically overpowered. Is
How do you
what we're
find
worried
it?
about.
Like, you watch a lot of nights, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna let you answer this and take your word on it, because I've seen Brusevich 6 or 7 times, but you've seen
yeah.
him 30. So how does he handle stronger forwards down low?
So again, a good example is that Windsor game, because there again, Windsor is a big team, and when he's playing a team like Windsor, you can get a good example of that. So they played them twice recently. I thought he's been good both times. And they have guys like Nesbitt, who's huge. Protoss is a huge guy. Greentree is a huge guy. Now, again, he's not totally playing with Dickinson anymore because they acquired defensemen. So he's playing with Woolley more than he's playing with Dickinson. So he is kind of relied upon to be the decision maker on the line, too. I think he battles well down low. I think he does well in front of the net. And I think he's actually a pretty good cycle defender. I think it plays. And again, I don't think he's small. Like, he's adequate size for an NHL defenseman. Now, do I think he's going to be a first-line defenseman? No. Do I think he can play on a third pair, though? Yes. Can he play on a second pair? Yes. Now, I talked about Aitchison before. Again, Brusevich is a year younger than him. And I know we've ranked him higher, but I think Aitchison has he's not actually small. It's just the way he skates. He looks a little smaller on the ice. Brusevich doesn't look small. So I think, again, I get that other people have him ranked, in the 40s, and again, it's kind of like the Kettles thing. This guy's a good player. Like, he deserves to be a first rounder. And especially when guys again, Boumedien's a good player. I just see him as a better, again, right hand shot D. He's physical. He's with a good program. I don't see how he falls. I really don't see how he falls in the first round. I really don't.
Oh, I don't disagree. So there's 3 defensemen here, I think, that we're looking at, that will be the next 3 defensemen, probably, I would assume, for us. Wang, Boumedien, and Brusevich. I actually like Wang the best of the 3.
It's just,
and I've seen him in person twice now.
Yeah, and again, I get why you like him. It's that skating size combo is very hard to find. But you said it yourself. You're looking at upside here. Like, at these picks, these are where they're taking safe guys. He's a big upside guy.
No, but he's also a high floor guy, dude, because of his size and skating. I've never seen it. Darren, I've scouted for, this is my
How many games has he played? Like, we kind of need a little more. We need a little more to see. I think that's kind of where I'm at here. I just want to see a little bit more out of him. I think it's a little advantageous to have him this high.
Maybe, but all I'm saying is that I did 3 years covering the OHL and the Q with ISS. I did 3 more years doing it with Grant at Recruits, and now this season with us. I have never, amongst the drafts that I've covered and players I've seen in person, okay, so let's limit that here. So it's primarily the O and the Q guys. But in those 7 drafts, I have never seen a guy this big skate this well. I haven't seen it. And I know that he just started playing in the O, and that's why I don't have him 15th, because he just started playing in the O. I'm not saying I would have him 15th, but dude, there is upside. He's so raw. But he played till he played in fucking China until he was in high school, and then his mom bought an OJ team so he could come over and play in North America, dude. Like, that's how he came. So he's only just got here. He's just like, he's just scratching the surface, and he does some things. Okay, I get it, but he's raw. But the size and the skating and the way that he can close a gap laterally in one stride on a guy is not something that I personally have seen in 7 seasons covering the Ontario Hockey League. I haven't seen it.
His edge work is really good. Like, he can gain speed on guys as he's, going side to side. That is a very high quality skill that he has. It's just hard. It's just hard because he hasn't played a lot. So you need to see a little bit more. It's just, again, he's the upside pick, right? Like, that's what you're picking here.
But yes, but no, because if his puck game never comes, He's big enough and a good enough skater and a mean enough defender that he's going to play. He's going to play. This is not like, no, but like you had a guy last year, like, okay, this guy last year is like Letourneau last year, where it's like, oh, he plays in a weird league, but he's massive, like this and that. Like, I never quite saw it with Letourneau, because with Letourneau, there was some risk of not being able to play at all because he's kind of clunky and all that kind of stuff. Wang's skating is so good that I don't see that. I don't see that risk. I don't see that risk with him, really. But so how would you put those three defensemen, Wang, Brusevich, and Boumediene? How would you rank them?
Well, I would put the right-hand shot D first. I think, again, that's just the priority I have. I think I would put Brusevich, I would go Wang, and then Boumediene. Like, I think that's probably the way I would lean with that. I mean, okay. I guess I get my bias. Again, I fully own that. I just, again, every time I see this guy, I've seen him play with, when all London's guys at the World Juniors just playing number 1 minutes. And they won pretty much every game. He was on the ice for the majority of every game, not playing with high-end partners, and he looked great. So,
okay. So do you want to? Okay. So we both have. Yep. Do you want to do them back to back here?
Sure.
Brusevich and then Wang.
Sure.
And then come back to maybe a couple of the forwards.
Yep.
Does that give us 25?
It does give us 25.
Not a bad place to stop. Although I want to shoehorn Ben Kindel in here somewhere. Honestly, all the guy does is score, and he's so smart. He's so smart, man.
Well, I would like to have. Okay. Well, so is Cole Rashne, and like that's a good discussion to have. Because again, I know Kindel scores a lot. So does Rashne. I think Kindel's on a little bit better team than him, though. But
something about Kindel I like better. I don't know. I can't exactly put my finger on it.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, he produces. That's probably why you like him so much.
But it's just like, I just think like, I think Rashne's an excellent playmaker. I think Kindel's hockey sense is amongst the top here. And I think that's the big differentiator for a lot of guys. The thing that can make them elite and translate at the next level is the ability to think the game at high speed, and not that Rashne can't. I just think Kindel's a little bit better of it, and that's kind of why I have him ahead of Rashne. But like, if you see, this is what we're gonna have to do when there's two of us. Like, I'll give you Brusevich over Wang if you can give me Kindel as the next guy.
Sure, that's fine. But I am going to say this about Rashne. In terms of offensive talent, I still think he's a top-end playmaker in this draft. I think his ability to see the ice is very high. Again, he's a smaller guy, and you worry about his skating. So that's the question mark you have with him.
Well, I don't worry as much with Kindel. His skating is very good.
Yes. So with Rashne, I've seen that playmaking skill so many times. It's like, I understand why he's not maybe obviously it's a size issue why he's here. It's just kind of hard to see if he hits, like, this is a top 6 guy.
Yeah, but it's hard to hit when you're small and not dynamic.
Yes. Well, I'd argue his playmaking's dynamic, but yes, he's not like a dynamic skater or something like that. No.
Yeah, he's not the most dynamic moving around, but like typically that kind of guy is a second rounder.
Usually. Yeah, maybe he is. I guess I just wanted to kind of round out that argument as to, kind of why we would put Kindel before Rashne, and just kind of say why it's an argument anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I would have Kindel ahead of Brusevich personally, but I'm okay with those three here. It's our mid-season, and I don't want to sound like I don't like Brusevich. I do. I just don't. For whatever reason, he doesn't strike me as a third pair guy, and he doesn't strike me as a first power play guy either. and that's a combination that worries me a little bit because
So if I could,
you could get maybe pigeonholed into being a bit of a tweener, but I really do like him. But I just
can I
he's not,
say something about his offense?
yeah.
So when you watch him play, he does actually do very good offensive things. So a lot of the D we've talked about, maybe up in the draft, they have some offensive, maybe question marks. He handles the puck fairly well. In terms of when he looks for offense in the offensive zone, he's actually very good at picking and choosing when to shoot. He shoots from good spots. He doesn't just fire it into shin pads, and he can actually maneuver the puck around where he gets shots through. So I think he's actually, again, I've said this before, I think his offensive upside is better than a lot of people think it is. It's just he's not really thrust into that role. But I mean, he moves the puck really well. And even when he's on the rush, say he joins the rush, he actually makes very good passes off the rush, which not a lot of defensemen do in this draft, including the ones we've, put up in the draft here. So a lot of these guys kind of struggle offensively. I don't think he does. And I think you're going to see that the next couple of years, he's going to put up a lot of points. I think that is going to happen. He's just on a completely loaded team this year where he doesn't have to. I do wonder if he was maybe on a different team that maybe those point totals would be a lot higher.
They probably would.
Yeah. But I actually see more offensive upside than others just strictly when you watch him individually.
I see some PP2 upside. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he's a 40, 45 point defenseman.
I think he can definitely play on a power play in the NHL. Do I think he's the first power play? Maybe not. But I mean, I think he can definitely play on one and you'll be fine with him out there and he'll produce some points out there and he'll be more than fine.
Yeah.
He can play defensively and he's right-handed. So
yeah. I get it. No, he is good. And I do like him a lot. Now we have 6 places left here in the first round, and we may take a break here at some point, probably shortly. So what I would say, boys, is because we're about halfway, let's cross-reference how many guys do you think are for sure first rounders left versus who I think is for sure first rounder left. The guys that we both agree are for sure first rounders, let's rank them in the next couple spots and then maybe take a pause and come back after a little snack or something and carry on.
All right, so here are the guys that kind of I have left that are possible first rounders for me. So we have
not the possible for sure. Who do you think is a first rounder? This player is a first round talent. There's not 32. There's not 32 in this draft.
I think Gastrin is like, I think he's kind of fits into he's a safe player. I don't think he's that far off Brady Martin, to be honest. I think they're similar sizes. I think they play similar styles. I think Martin shoots the puck better than Gastrin. I think Gastrin has a bit better playmaking than him. Do a lot of similar things. I feel like if you're a team that really liked Brady Martin, maybe this is a guy you kind of fall back to. I don't know if you have him kind of in this range at all, but that would be a guy I think to me, is a first round pick. I think that's.
I've got 3 guys who I feel are first rounders, and then I have a decent sized tier after.
Yeah.
The next 3 guys to close out a tier for me of guys are Boumediene, Gastrin, and Ryabkin.
You see, I don't have Ryabkin in my first round though. Like that's kind of he's not a guarantee to me. It just
really,
yeah. But again, I have to watch him more, recently. From what I saw in Russia, I did not like him.
Did you watch the USHL games yet though?
No, I haven't. So that's kind of why we have to, I might have to, just go with you on that one.
He's improved a lot.
Yeah. Now
settled now.
So I think here maybe we go Gastrin, Boumediene, and then Ryabkin then. If that's really what you want to do.
Yeah, I don't see any. I just don't see any upside in Gastrin.
Well, the upside though is, again, this is a guy who's going to play. Like
Yeah,
he's
no,
gonna.
but
It's the
maybe
Brady Martin thing. He's gonna play. He's gonna be an effective player. The coaches are gonna like him.
yeah, but Martin's got a great shot. I could see him developing into a second line player if everything goes well. I don't see.
Gaston's a better playmaker than him, though. Like,
I just don't see what Gastrin has that would make him a top 6 player.
okay, well,
Which is like that's why we're
this is
having.
where we are, though.
No, I know. Um,
Like, unless you want to talk about guys now that are going to have first line upside, because we can do that.
no, but we're getting close. We're getting closer. Yeah, do you want to do like I would take probably the thing with Gastrin is a guy like that is not necessarily expensive to acquire in the NHL.
No, like,
Like
are you
get-
interested
you
in
can get
Rashne here?
what's
Like, is
that?
there any interest in Rashne around here then? Like, Kindle was our last
Yes,
pick. Like, it's
but I'm not 100% sold that he's going to be a first rounder yet. Whereas Boumediene and Ryabkin and Gastrin, I'm more certain.
okay. Can I take? So, can I give you another maybe option here?
Yeah,
Again,
like
player like
I have Rashne 30th.
okay. So another player here I do like. Again, he's again, there's maybe some flaws in the player. Like Nathan Bem's a good player. He's a bigger body and he does score goals in a way that would translate in the NHL. I mean, he's really good in front of the net. He's good around the net. There's a body that could translate here. You would just need to coach him up. I do wonder if he's maybe a guy you could look at here. Because a lot of these guys around here, again, you're wondering what the upside is. Well,
Yeah,
again, Rashne's a smaller body.
I
mean,
wonder
you have
how many
Rick Ryabkin's a smaller body. Gastrin, again, not a huge guy, and we don't know about the upside. So, I mean, that would be maybe a guy I would suggest there too.
a guy like Bem. I just wonder he's 6'1" or 6'2", and he's already 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of his offense comes from the fact that he's bigger and stronger than everybody in junior.
Yes, but again, when you watch his, again, when we watch him play, he's scoring goals around the net, which that to me translates.
Yeah, like I have him personally more right around 40 than 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Like, do you want to do who are we saying right now? Gastrin, like I would go Boumediene, Gastrin, Ryabkin, if you're fine with that.
Sure. That works.
Like I feel like Gastrin is going to be that 28 to 32 range. Like is exactly where he falls because he's going to play, but not tons of upside. So that's 29.
Well, I think we should take Rashne here then. Like there's offensive upside here. And yeah.
Well, if we're talking offensive upside.
Do you want to take Zurofsky here?
I was thinking Cam.
You could also take Cam Reed. I guess there's another thing we could talk about was Cam Reed. We have an offensive defenseman. There aren't a lot of offensive defensemen in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, we could also take the guy with the best shot in the whole draft.
Could also take the best goalie in the draft too.
Yeah, I don't see a first round goaltender in this class.
Oh, there's one that's close, but he's not from North America. That's giving it away, but
don't love Reed there. Trethway's a second rounder to me. Yeah, Rashne, I guess, would be Rashne, but like he's so small. So we're gonna take a small guy that's like, and he's not that quickest. Like, I'd almost rather Schmidt over him.
Do you want to take Schmidt over him? I mean, this is kind of the range we could take him in. I mean, he does, again, his shot is elite. It is.
If we're looking at talent, Schmidt is the most talented player left on this list.
So again, you're picking 30th. What type of team's picking here? Either
either someone who just went to the conference finals or someone who just traded with someone who went to the conference finals.
And this is their second pick of the draft. They're probably doing an upside pick.
You want to go? I'm fine with Schmidt here, honestly.
Sure. So we have him in the first round. Look at us.
I'll have to update that title of last episode to yes.
Apparently it is a yes. So
I still don't love it in the first round though. Like I don't love it.
But this is the range he's going to go in, man. Like it's just he's going to go from 30 to 40. Like that's where he's going to go. Yeah. I mean, but it's again like, so I'll make another suggestion. I like my Russian guys. We have Zurovsky and Limitov, who I both think talent wise should be first round picks.
Yeah.
And again, they're bigger. They're bigger. Like again, so we talk about Zurovsky. You know, not a bigger body, but he's a normal. He's again like a 6'1" body, lots of room to grow. Hot, in terms of his weight, he's got a lot of weight to gain. So speaking of guys we spoke about earlier, Denway, O'Brien, guys, he can project out to gain a 25 pounds. So we're going to look at more strength there. This guy has, other than McQueen, I think the best individual hands in the draft. Really good playmaker, knows how to score. Playing at a lower level in the middle of Russia. Is that worth a pick here?
Yeah, I mean,
like I would like to take him over. I would take him over Rashne. Like I would take that gamble over Rashne if it was me.
I would love to take this guy 33rd overall.
We might have to take him 31st overall.
But I say that about Schmidt too. I'd like to take him 33rd overall as well. Like, okay, my next guys, but like, I look at a guy like Genborg. I'm like, okay, he's sick power forward, very physical. Don't know if he has tons of offensive upside, but like, I'm pretty sure this guy's gonna be able to play in my bottom six. Zurovsky, will he ever even get on the plane? I don't know.
But if he does get on the plane.
That said, though, I had him and Schmidt ranked 33, 34, first two picks in my second round because I'm a stubborn fuck who won't call a guy who's going to be good. Fuck it, let's just call him Zurovsky. He's sick. I don't care. You're right. You're right, Darren. You're right. He's good. He's better than. He's got more talent than probably 10 guys ahead of him.
So do we have? And at 32, do we have?
Rashne, dude, who's playing in the dub, who you see all the time, like Is that going to be the end of our first round? Rashne and Zurovsky, like, or even a guy like Potter who's already over.
I would take Rashne over Potter. I think there's more offensive upside there, and he's bigger. Like Rashne's bigger than Potter.
Potter has a fair bit of offensive upside, dude.
He does. He's just
he's a better skater than Rashne too.
Rashne's a better playmaker than him, though. But yeah. Okay, I mean, so I could make another suggestion here. There's a 6'3" defenseman in Russia who hammers guys, can move the puck, and is actually improving defensively.
He scares me how he thinks the game, dude. I'm not sure what he's looking at out there. Some shifts. You're talking about Limitov, I assume?
Yes.
Dude, that guy is a high event hockey.
So I viewed him recently. The high events are definitely cut down. I think that was what I came away with from the viewing, is that the offensive side was still there. He's definitely willing to hit guys. And again, the high event was narrowed down. And especially, again, in that viewing, I watched the last third period in overtime. He was excellent in that game. And again, he plays for a really good team in Russia. Again, it's the junior league. Plays on a really good team, plays a lot of minutes, and he's 17. So I mean, he obviously can play a bit.
Okay,
but as you said, there's risk to that pick. I know.
Yes, there's a lot of risk, dude.
There's a risk to anyone at 32.
Not Sam O'Reilly.
That's true. Sam O'Reilly was sick.
Okay,
there is no Sam O'Reilly here, though.
Hey.
There is no Sam O'Reilly here, though.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's go with, you want to go Rashne and then Zarovsky?
I would go Zarovsky and then Rashne.
You want to go Zarovsky? Do you really think that's how it's going to go?
Honestly, it might not go that way. I think this guy's a better player than him. Like, he's really good.
All right, let's do it. Let's put him in the first round because nobody can fire us. We do our own show.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So we got Zarovsky and then Cole Rashne, and that concludes the third round. So yeah, 21 to 32.
First round.
Sorry, the third group here. 21 to 32. Starts with Payton, Kettles, Brady, Martin, Coots, Brustevich, Wang, Kindel, Boumedian, Gastrine, Ryabkin, Schmidt, Zarovsky, and Cole Rashne. How do we feel about that, boys?
Feel pretty good about it. I'm very interested to see how our next, the next few guys go, because this is where, again, even we already said here, I believe at 22 looks like where the list is probably gonna, we're gonna narrow our,
and with Zarovsky,
go off. We're gonna go off. Yeah, we're gonna narrow off from all these other people, so it's gonna be interesting to see, where we end up here. But I really like, the guys we have
here. Our first guy who's really off the board, who really doesn't appear on pretty much any list as of right now. That will change. He wasn't even, dude. Central didn't even have him ranked.
Yes, but some pretty prominent scouting people have seen him recently and also agree with us. So we're not out to lunch.
No, I don't disagree. Look for him to be maybe the biggest second half riser of this entire draft. Do you want to pause this here? And good place to pause.
Yeah, we'll pause her here and we'll come back with pick 33.
I love it. All right.
All right.